First and foremost, like when we go into new markets and countries, we are a very, very strong believer in local presence. It's super, super critical. I mean, you have to remember also, like, we kind of have two legs in our business, right? So we have the merchant-facing leg where we work with e-commerce companies or retailers that use our payment services, and then we have the consumer side of the business, right? And if we start with the first one, our experience have been over the years that it is extremely critical to build that local presence with our partners. So I actually refer to it as after work distance, which means that, like, if we can be invited to an after work, then we're at the right distance. And usually, if you're a plane away, you're not going to be invited to an after work. So, most likely that will obviously be Bucharest, since it's the largest city in Romania, and the capital. But so that is very important for us to have that local presence. We've had it in all of our European markets. That's usually a team of not that many people, maybe 4 to 8 people initially, as we grow that. Then in addition to that, beyond that, just from a local presence perspective, obviously Romania is one of the amazing countries in Europe right now, which has a fantastic talent pool, not least in tech, in technology, and so forth, right? So there are we already hire and have quite a lot of Romanians in the company, and I think that, like, we are going to continue want to hire. Whether some of them will stay and work in Romania or some of them may work in other of our offices throughout Europe, that depends, obviously. But we know it's a very, very deep talent pool, so we want to continue to invest in that as well. No, so look, I think that it's not uncommon. We have similar situations in other markets. Take Poland as an example, very dominated by Allegro. So you have a couple of markets in Eastern Europe where there is, like, the local Amazon, so to speak, and that's not uncommon for us. But I think that we look at it obviously more from kind of a global perspective, and in that we've learned that we believe that e-commerce is becoming more and more global. That over time we see a lot of, like, successful brands, that are selling globally. They want to sell to an audience in the whole world, and in general, those companies have done better. Like, when we look at our statistics, we see that brands selling directly to consumers are growing faster than the traditional retailers. And so, and also we work with a lot of global brands, like be it H&M, Zara, Sephora, etc. And a lot of big retailers like that have presence in a lot of markets, like Romania and others as well. So to us, we benefit from the ability now to offer our services. And this is why, Romania is important for us for many reasons. It's important for us because we want to be present among Romanian companies that have the ambition to grow outside of Romania, where we can help them, connect them to German consumers, to Nordic consumers, to UK consumers, or even American consumers, so we can actually help accelerate their growth. But it's also obviously important for us because there's a lot of international companies that want to, offer a better experience for Romanian consumers, and in that case, we help them with that. It's actually Romania as a target market for us, to some degree, was accelerated by a couple of Czech companies, Greek companies, German companies, who have seen the tremendous growth and the strengthening of the Romanian market and really, really wanted us to be present. Polish as well, wanted us to be present to, offer our services in Romania. So a lot of it happens cross country. So yes, obviously that local, player is important, and we will always be open to have discussions with anyone about partnerships. But we also respect the fact, I think, sometimes people expect us to, like, oh, we're just going to change everything overnight. We're not going to do that. We're going to come to Romania, we're going to learn, we're going to build relationships, we're going to learn what the local adaptations needs to look like, we're going to learn the market, understand it better. We have obviously very high aspirations, but we're very so humble about that it's going to take time to build trust and relationships, right? So, yeah. we are often referred to in media as like buy now, pay later. And I understand why. Obviously, it's been one of our, most popular features. But actually, to me, from my perspective, buy now, pay later is just a cool feature. So I'm going to skip all through all this stuff. I'll just show you more concretely. Yes, we have buy now, pay later as one of the first problems that we solve. The ability to touch and feel the product before you pay for it, or as we are launching in Romania, the pay in 3, so you can split it in installments. Over time, however, we also offer longer term financing, and then we offer like PayPal or like a debit where you can pay the full amount full time, right? So we want to offer over time people all of these payment methods in every market. Beyond that, however, one of the things that people don't know is that we're the only payments service in the world. For every transaction we process, we do not only, Visa and MasterCard carries only the amount that you purchased. Klarna carries the full digital receipt. So it means that we understand, what are the items that you bought, sizes and colors. And we then visualize that back to the consumer. So when you go into the Klarna app, you can see images of the items that here you can see, okay, I bought this and that. You can see the exact digital receipt. So you have a much better understanding of your spending. We then added the ability to track your shipping, find out where your packages are when they arrive. We've allow you to very seamlessly, if you have a dispute or return, and help you, solve for that. We then also added like carbon footprint of your purchases, so you can track and understand the impact it's having on, the environment. We added budgeting tools to allow you to control your finances and connect to your banking account through open banking. There's customer service, obviously, through that as well. We've added an ability for you to kind of, look at all of your favorite retailers or favorite brands. You can see all of the purchases. You can see discounts and offers from that. And also on the brands level with like, be it Nike or Adidas or whatever it might be, you can organize and store your loyalty cards, et cetera, et cetera. So, and I can go on and on and on here. But the point is that so yes, officially we're branded as buy now, pay later. But once the consumers try us out, they usually start discovering all these other features, and they're like, wow, you know what? This is kind of bigger than just the ability to buy now, pay later. And that is what grows over time, the preference and the interest in our product. To me, the most important thing is whenever we talk about data, sometimes, for example, retailers will say, we have this data, Klarna has that data, whatever. I say, look, you know what? It's not our data, or it's not the merchant's data, it's the customer's data, right? So I think the most important thing is to respect the fact that these are, the consumers, right? And also, obviously, in the EU, we have the GDPR regulation, which I think in general is a good regulation. It has some parts that aren't great, but in general has a very good intent, which is, again, give consumers the control and the right to their own data, right? And I think that's entirely vital. So what we would like are trying to do, and I think we still can get better in this, but my ambition with Klarna is to partially be a payments company and partially be an identity management company, in the sense that we give you a tool to manage your data and decide who do you want to share it with and how and what do you want to share, right? Because if you think about it, when you used to go down to your local coffee shop, right? If we go down to that coffee shop and let's say that, okay, so Tom comes into his local coffee shops and the local coffee shop owner says, hey, Tom, great to see you. I made your favorite cappuccino. And by the way, I know it's your birthday, so I got some of that cake that you love. That's an experience that most consumers want and appreciate. They want to be recognized. They want to have, a special experience and so forth. So that's good. The problem we've seen with technology companies, the Metas and Facebooks of the world and so forth, is they did something else. They stepped over from that retail experience into a private experience. So I usually tell the story okay, same coffee shop, Tom comes in, coffee shop owner says, hey, your birthday, this and that. And by the way, I read your private emails and I realized you're filing for divorce. Here's a great lawyer, right? That's when you overstep into something that is not what consumers like. And I think that was the mistake that's been done, right? So we want to enable and give people transparency and control of their data, give them the ability to, when they want to do it, say, I may share some of that to get a better experience or a more relevant experience because it's helpful for me, right? If I want to buy a drone, for example, being able to share my budget may be relevant to understand what are the best drones for me, right? If I want to buy fashion, sharing some of the brands that I really like may be relevant to provide a better recommendation. But it has to be done under control and preference of the consumer, and the transparency and so forth is very, very critical. But there's tremendous opportunity there. And to some degree, if you think about it, the original idea of American Express, like you getting a platinum card, or a black card, it kind of had the same idea, right? You would go to this restaurant and you're like, oh, look, I have a black card. And then the restaurant owner would be like, oh my God, it's a black card. I have to bring the best wine and the best food. So, this idea of a payments company being able to signal to the retailer, who is this? What are their preferences? Is not new, but you can do it in a smart and a thoughtful way where it adds value for both the buyer and the seller. Well, two things. First and foremost, like our banking license is in Sweden. Under European law, currently we can passport that license in any European Union country. So that's part. So we're obviously passporting into Romania. When it comes to all the services, like, look, me personally, I would have launched everything in Romania tomorrow. But we also have 5,500 people in this company who are trying to, do a lot of things in the same time. And it's not always possible to do everything as much as we'd like to. So we're launching with the Pay in 3 first, and then we're hoping to add more services as we go. But it's very critical to me that over time, the same services are available everywhere. I don't want to be like only in this country, only in that. Like, it's just not good. Like, we're a global company, we want to offer the same services and especially in all of European Union countries. So first and foremost, like if you look at it, in general, our experience have been that when we come to a new market, the best category of merchants is fashion. So it's a kind of a mix of, people would think sometimes that installments is relevant for like, high ticket items like a computer or something like that. But usually there are financing solutions. They're a little bit different. You maybe borrow over 3 years and so forth. This is more a short-term installment. It's a 3 months. It's meant for purchases around 100 euros type of sizes, 50 to 100 euros. So it's usually in fashion where we see most of the success and usually have the beginning. And then over time, we tend to scale into more categories. So fashion-oriented is usually a focus area to start with. When it comes to pay on time, in general, if you look at the total volume of Klarna payments, you got to remember that about 35% of them are debit. So that's people who pay the full amount at the time of purchase. For the 65% that is credit, 99% pay on time. So it's less than 1% that don't pay on time. And then, that even less than that eventually don't pay at all, right? So that's obviously a very important metric. Because it also tells us like how healthy are we in underwriting, how good are we in taking the right decision that is in the best interest of our customers so that they don't overextend themselves or spend too much. And it's also obviously we have a strong incentive because it's also a cost for us, right? It costs money if we lose money. So there are multiple reasons why it's of big importance to us that we want to keep that as small as possible. So one bucket is we will always in the local market look at like, is there locally available credit bureau data, different type of traditional data that would be used by banks to underwrite, and to what extent can we use that in a cost-efficient way that makes sense, that's actually helpful to predict credit losses, and also that is not disruptive to consumers. In different markets, there may be implications on your credit rating and stuff like that. So we have to be mindful and understand that. But that's usually one bucket of information that we acquire. The second bucket is what we would refer to as behavioral data. You have to remember again that in our case, we're not doing a mortgage. We're not giving you, if you do a mortgage, it's much more important to look at your income. Will you be able to afford this over a longer period of time? In our case, when you're making purchases of 50 to 100 euros, it is, less of a affordability question. Can you afford it? And more, what's your pattern of behavior? Are you one of those who pays or doesn't pay, right? And that actually we've learned over time, you can identify in different ways. So I always use this example, even though it's obviously shouldn't be misinterpreted as the only thing we look at, but there is a strong pattern that people that shop 3 o'clock in the night versus people to shop 3 o'clock in the day are slightly less good payers, right? And so there is a lot of behavior data. And in addition to that, merchants, when we go into a new market like Romania, often merchants are able to share with us, this is a returning customer that's been great, that's always paid. What people don't recognize is actually most credit in Europe started as mail order companies doing cash on delivery. So you used to go to a door and you would deliver cash on delivery. You would pay cash to the person, the mailman. And after you've done that 3 times, and you always paid cash for your package and you always had money to pay for it, then you would say, you don't need to do that anymore. I'm going to extend credit to you. That's actually how most credit started. And so in a way, this is kind of similar. You start small, you give people, you test that you actually take this responsibly, and then you grow it over time. So the behavioral pillar. And then the third one, obviously, is as it becomes a returning customer to Klarna, as we see that they are, taking this responsibly, then it's obviously becomes easier. So you have those kind of behavioral data, traditional credit data, and then our internal data. I think, it's an interesting topic, obviously, from a privacy perspective as well. And you will look at some of the less inspiring things that China has done in this area. But I do think to some degree, though, I think directionally speaking, we're going to see more of that. And the reason for that, but it will have to be driven in a way where, look, I as a consumer have all these great data points. I have my bank account, I have, my great reputation, and so forth. And I want to get a better price for my credit. I want to get a better price for my mortgage. So now I'm going to give you that data to you as a lender. And I'm going to say, look at me. This is how great I am. Now give me a better price. I think we will see more of that. We'll see more of voluntarily data sharing to receive better services and better prices. And that obviously will have some unfortunate consequences because some people will not be able to present that file. And then we'll have a political discussion of the consequences of that. But I think in general, it makes sense that we as customers can take ownership of our own credit profile, of our own, data, and say, look at me, I deserve better. Right. And so I think that we are going to see things move in that direction.